Hi everyone, we're going to go over on how to start building our pinch and coil pot. Here's a reference, and I'm also going to be working off of my sketch as well. So I'm going to start, do a little bit of water. In here I have a little clay and water, which will make slip, which is kind of like the glue we use to stick our projects together. So I'm just going to start by making a pinch pot, just like our other project. I just have some clay tools here as well. I'm going to take a little clay off. I don't want that much. And then I have a nice stack of clay to work on my coils. So we all know this process. We went through it. We made one. We're going to make our clay into a ball. Just want to make sure you guys can see. So making my clay into a ball and starting to make a pinch pot. By now, we should be pros at making a pinch pot. The really important part of this project is to keep the top as level as possible, because that's where our coils are going to rest. So pinching, 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 pinching. Like I've said before, coil is built for height, so you use coils to build height. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Pinch pot is kind of used for the base part and like to be nice and sturdy and strong to support our coils. So really thin tops on these projects aren't going to be the best. We probably would have to start over. And hopefully Miss A will not have to start over, because I'm getting a little thin, but you know, not too bad. I just want to make sure where I'm at you guys can all see. And you can, okay. Just readjust here. Tape a little bit, I think. Okay. So I have my pinch pot going. Okay, good. All right, so I'm gonna keep working on this, make it nice and even. Actually gonna give it a good spray. Everyone asks me why I don't speed up these videos. I really don't think that's a great learning experience for you guys, but you can, you know, speed up yourself and wait until I add the coils on. Just remember, this is your quarterly, so you're going to want to make sure that it's really well done. The pinch pot's really complete. That's really what I'm looking for. And since we're learning coil, you know, that section is also done correctly. So I would probably take like one full class period to make my pinch pot. You have to still build this while it is nice and wet. You can't like let it dry and then build it. You do have to build while your clay is still damp. So a lot of the saving technique, wrapping it in plastic. My peeps at home, you probably can build this in one sitting as long as you're working. The one thing you will have to make is slip, and I'm going to show you in a short video on how to make that. I'll have it linked right before this one, so you can see that short video. Just double checking again that you guys can still see what I'm doing. Awesome. Okay, so I have my pinch pot. I would obviously give this a little more love. I'm going to go ahead though for video's sake, and I'm going to start, you know, building my coils and showing you what that process looks like. So in class, you'll have slip already made for you in small containers. And slip, I just take some of the clay and drench it really in water. So there's clay in here, and I have my little clay tool. So it gets really like almost slimy. It feels a little weird, it's a little cold, but you know, we'll make it work. You don't need a lot of it. So I'm going to set that to the side. I'm going to grab my clay and I'm going to start rolling. I like to call them little snakes because that's really what they look like. But you're going to roll what we call coils. And there is a few important steps. Now, if you're making your own slip, you're just gonna take some clay, and it's really important that you use it on a flat surface. My at-home folks, you can use it right on your boards or on a paper plate or on newspaper even. And you're just really gonna drench this so it's soaked in water, and you'll have enough slip to kind of work throughout the project, okay? And you can just leave it to the side of your board. I'm keeping it in a little container. You can do the same at home. I didn't provide you with those because I didn't think we were gonna get as far as we did. So I wedged out this clay, and I'm gonna start by squeezing it. I just wanna make sure you guys can see. Okay, I'm gonna start by squeezing it, and then I'm gonna start rolling it. So I'm just gonna use my board, and you want them to be nice and even. So I'm just using my board. I can move it to the side of my board as well. I need it to fit around here. So I'm gonna make sure that it is a nice length. At home, your boards are a little bit bigger than ours in class. In class, we're just gonna have to keep kind of moving it. When the ends get too thin, I just cut them off. But you want nice, even coils. I'm gonna go ahead and do it on the table. Just gotta be careful that the table is not wet, otherwise they slide just like that. So for my first coil, I have it nice and even. I'm gonna take that coil, set project here, and I'm just gonna lay it here, making sure it's nice and even. Lines like this, I'm gonna smooth out. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna lay it on top of here. I'm not gonna stick it on yet. I'm just measuring and making sure that I have enough coil. Okay, perfect, I do. I'm gonna go ahead and I just cut a little bit extra. I'm gonna leave this guy there, because I'll use him. So I'm just gonna make sure that like all of it is nice and round and even, and I'm just rolling it using my fingers and my hands. Your coil shouldn't be really any thinner than this. We're using coil to build height, not really for aesthetic. So we're using it to build height. Okay, perfect. This clay is really soft and new and plastic, so I can get away with just sticking it on, but you have to use what we call slip and score. So you have to use the slip and score method. So you can't, two pieces of the same texture, so this smooth piece and this smooth piece, they'll stick because they're wet and I'm gonna smooth them, but normally they wouldn't stick, they slide. So we need something for the clay to grasp onto. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your clay tool. You can use any clay tool, the wood clay tool. My peeps at home, you have that little yellow one. In class, we have the ribbon tools, we have the wood tools, I'll give you both, and we have the needle tool. I'm just gonna take this flat edge here, and I'm gonna go ahead and make some texture in the top of my pinch pot. And then I'm gonna do the same all along here, kind of giving it like almost like a puzzle piece. Like these are gonna kind of interlock. And I know that seems weird. I'm not going like too crazy. I'm just giving it enough. So when I wrap this coil on, so that's scoring. So you're scoring the surface, making it rough, making it not so smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and dip right into my slip here, and I'm gonna put some of that on. You don't need a lot, but you need to just make sure that you have like the clay part of it. So just adding the water is not enough slip. Ooh. And I only put it on one side just because this clay is really damp. I'm just gonna run my hand with water over. And then what I would do is I would start laying my coil. Yes, with this project, I'm gonna post some videos. You can make like cool coils that are braided. I'll post some tutorial videos on those as well. Once I have it laid on here, I need to attach these two ends. So I'm going to use my clay tool. Just want to make sure you can see. Okay, good. I'm going to use my clay tool here, and I'm going to press these together on both sides, making sure that the coil is there. And then what I'm going to do is on the inside here, I'm going to take my clay tool, and I'm going to mush these two together, taking out the extra clay, giving me a nice, bond of those two. Making sure that these are together. Any extra clay I'm taking away. Only on the inside am I smoothing, the outside I'm going to keep the same. And if you want to do a smaller pinch pot, that's fine too. Normally I like to do these a little bit smaller and more narrow, but that didn't happen with this one. So any extra clay I'm just taking into a ball. It is really wet. So on the outside I have this coil now. Any of those marks we can, move. You're going to have about 3 or 4 coils high, so I'm going to go ahead and roll out my next one and adhere that. So same thing. Just give it a little wedge. It doesn't have to be long. I'm going to start squeezing longer because that's the shape I need it to be. And this coil I'm going to put on is going to be a little fatter. It's not going to be this thick. It's going to be just a little bit fatter. If your coil is too dry, it will crumble like in your hands while you're rolling it. So if that's happening, that's why you need to spray down your clay. My peeps at home, if your clay is too dry and you can't do this with it, then you need to shoot me an email so I can send you and get you more. The goal is to get nice and even coils. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the table, even though the table's really wet. See, because the clay is sticking, so I don't want that to happen. In class, if you decide to use the table, I'm gonna have to have you guys wipe it down first before I come by and wipe it down, because it's gonna be very messy. But if we make our pinch pots smaller, which I think we will, we won't have a problem. So same thing, I know this is definitely long enough. I'm just gonna measure. Just make sure you guys can still see. Okay. Measure. My sound effects. Measure, and then to cut, I just rest on top and I just cut the extra. I always leave a little extra in case for some reason I messed up or misjudged or anything like that. So same process, you're going to score. Every layer needs to be score. I say score, slip, and then smooth. So score, scoring all around the top of the pinch pot, scoring. My little guy, my little snake here. Snakes freak Miss A out, but I think they're really cool, but they freak me out. So I'm scoring. Okay. Score. Slip. So just kind of smoothing that on. Putting a little extra that I have on here. And I'm going to stick this on. By using the slip, it allows it to stick better. And then by smoothing the inside into one another, you're building the support of each layer. So I'm just going to cut these nice and even and attach. And then I'm going to go on the inside and I'm going to smooth this top coil into the second layer coil. This will prevent them from falling apart. And it's funny, when they fall apart, they literally pull apart, like the coils come right off. And like I said, you're building coil for height. We're going to have our coils shown, but there's nothing saying that like when you're building for height, you can't smooth both sides, because it's still bonding the clay together and allowing it to stick. No, this doesn't cause air bubbles because you're using the slip more so than like pressing the clay together. And as I go, I do like to kind of smooth the inside too. So like I might take a few minutes now and smooth it. As you can see, the clay is really wet, but I have these layers of coils, and that's what we're going for, moving upward, okay? So things we need to remember for this project, and I didn't smooth too well here. I want to make sure it's nice and smooth. So you're going to build a pinch pot base. That's what Miss A did. Then she started rolling out her coils like snakes. In order to roll them out nice and long, I take the clay, I squeeze it so it's longer, and then I start rolling. You can roll in the air, you can roll on the table. At home, just be careful, make sure you're rolling somewhere that's like okay to be dirty. You can put newspaper down. This will stick to the newspaper, so you still need your board on top of it. I roll them out, score, slip, and smooth. So I score the tops, apply my slip, I score my little coil, I stick it on, I smooth them together, and then I smooth the inside as I keep building up. So that is your pinch and coil pot. Stay tuned for some other videos on technique and another video on, probably not posted by me, just some inspiration.